Hello, everybody. My name is Gary Gomes. It's good to be back after a week off. I was slightly ill. I got diagnosed this past Tuesday with COVID-19, and it's the first diagnosis I've had. I don't think it's the first time I've had it, to be honest, because I've had symptoms like this before. But this one was a little bit, they took it a little more seriously. And since I'm 70 now, I got the good meds to get rid of it. So basically, I'm on the last regimen of the medications. Don't worry, I didn't have to be hospitalized or anything like that. Taking it easy this week. And or maybe you'd be happy if I got hospitalized, get me out of your hair. But but basically, no, I'm only kidding you. Basically, so that was why I wasn't on last week. So it was just a little bit too much. I won't say it was too much effort, but I didn't feel like pressing myself too much last weekend. Plus, my wife had just gone to the hospital, so I just really there were a lot of things going on. And so both those crises are over, and I'm back. So, so basically, um, I want to talk to you about Vedic astrology, essentially what's happening in the sky right now, and also just comment on the general um, loopy quality I'm seeing in the news lately. And I can give you a really quick explanation for that. I'm going to pull up the chart right away. By the way, if you do want to contact me for readings, if you do want to contact me for um, lessons, you can call me at 508 525 0001. And let me put the captioning on. Uh, and again, that's 508 525 0001. I am available most days of the week. Um, I set my own schedule now. And basically, I can talk with you pretty much mostly anytime, unless I have something scheduled with my wife or to help my wife out. So essentially, uh, the I think the loopiness um, that I'm seeing in a lot of the news covers lately. So we had one of the things that just pops to mind is the recent um, grand jury uh, uh, talk show buzz has come out about the Georgia investigation, and and I was kind of interested to see the person's reaction to it, um, or the jury foreperson's reaction to it, and everybody else's reaction to it, like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just, it's just this is you know, and also giggling, giggling and laughing about it. Now that could be an actual exclamation of glee. It just didn't strike me as being really. Um, it struck me as being really funny though, and I think the reason it was really funny uh, to the individual was because it happened. The release of the information happened when the moon was conjunct Jupiter and Venus. So it's like so you look over here at the chart. This is, and I'm going to talk about some more issues coming up. This isn't the only one we're seeing right now. So essentially, the moon and Jupiter. So as we're talking right now, about 2 days ago, 2 to 3 days ago, the moon was with Venus and Jupiter in Pisces. And as I said before, although this is a marvelous conjunction, um, Venus and Jupiter are really happy to be well, Venus is happy to be with Jupiter. Jupiter's not so happy to be with Venus. So there's a natural animosity. No planet dislikes Jupiter. No graha dislikes Jupiter in Vedic astrology. However, um, Jupiter does dislike Venus. And I think one of the things that I've always seen when this combination gets together, and it's a marvelous thing, and one of the reasons that I underscore this so much is because I have certain traits like this in my horoscope and in my chart, without getting into the details of my chart. And it gives kind of a great exuberance, but it also makes people a little bit careless and a little bit overly optimistic. And I think we're seeing the same thing happening uh, in Russia. Saying, "Oh yeah, we did nuclear tests. We let you know," and also um, the current upticking in what I would call a careless um, declarations. So people are overestimating their chances like crazy. So Donald Trump is going around the country acting like he's going to be elected again, and that looks unlikely to me at this point. It's always possible. There's always a possibility. But it's sort of like this unbounded optimism that people have, and they really don't have. Saturn is like a sobering slap in the face, saying, "Well, realize you're going to have to do this, this, and this before you get to. You're going to have to go through this step, and this step before you get to Y or to C." And that Venus Jupiter conjunction is really kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of untouchable. I can do anything pretty much I want to, and it won't matter. And in the long run, actually, to be honest with you, since time is an illusion, that's absolutely true. In the short run, people's memories are better than that. And I think, um, so essentially, I think what we can do right now is enjoy these happy, good feelings for a little while, for at least another couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, when as Venus approaches its exaltation point in Pisces. And actually, right now, not today, but right now in general, is a good time to start projects, to start activities. I'm going to close the chart again just to make sure that you guys can see it. And I'm going to look at another chart today because I got interested in this when I was looking at various charts. But basically, you have with this chart as we have laid out, we have a Gemini Lagna, which is essentially a good communicator Lagna. So I'm happy I chose it. But we have some anxiety or some uncertainty about the future because of the Moon Rahu conjunction. Venus and Jupiter's in the 10th house, so that's good for putting plans of action into effect. Yeah, the Lord of the first house and the Lord of the fifth house, but they'll have some expenses connected with them because you have the Lord of the 12th house connected with that combination. So, and you also have Mars in the 12th house, so there can be some over optimism, maybe even some hidden enemies popping up in this chart. And the moon Rahu is sort of like, so I'm kind of projecting that out right now because it's an anxiety producing combination. It causes more worry than normal. And Saturn's aspecting the moon and Rahu right now as well. And we have a Sun Saturn conjunction. But I tend to get a little bit concerned when we look at a short term transit. And this is really only a month-long transit. And we start going like, oh, everything's going to get fixed. It's going to be a great opportunity for everyone. It lasts for a month. It's a great opportunity to start activities, but if you expect everything to go as smoothly down the road as when started, it'll be a bit of a surprise for you. So I think one of the things to keep in mind is yes, good time to start activities, good time to feel good about yourself, good time to feel optimistic about the future, but Venus will transit over to Rahu and the moon. We're going to have a lot more scandals coming out over the next 3 weeks or so. And also, when Jupiter hits Rahu, we're going to see many more court and politically related scandals come out. Also, scandals connected with education, with teaching in general. Okay, so essentially, enjoy this while you can, because it's a great time to start to write a book, or not today. Give it until, let's say, Monday or Tuesday. And it's a good time to start to write a book, to write articles. It's a great time to discipline yourself, get your mind in the mindset of like, well, I haven't done as much as I can. All yesterday, I was beating myself up for not doing more educationally. Okay, so this is personal. For me, I can look at the chart and say, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going through this feeling. Because Rahu with the moon makes the public a little bit anxious about the future. But we will have at least about 3 weeks of what I would say is optimism, but again, I caution against false optimism. This is still going to be a tough year. The other thing that kind of concerns me is the fact that we still have K2 in Libra that still upsets trade relations. There's been what's the phenomenon which has been giving. Let's talk about Turkey just for 1 second, and also Brazil, because I mentioned Brazil a lot in these broadcasts. So Brazil is going through massive flooding right now. California had a blizzard, okay, over the past couple of days, and of course we all know about Turkey and Syria, the catastrophe that happened there. Now that doesn't look likely. Turkey will still be in danger. Places like Turkey and Brazil, and there will still be potentials for earth damage over the next, I say, until October, late October at the earliest, and being more conservative, late November, because of K2 passing over this particular sign. Swati is a good nakshatra. It's considered to be a really terrific nakshatra for the accumulation of knowledge and strength. But when K2 passes over that nakshatra, you'll see some kinds of attacks on strengths through like small sources. So this will cause things like earthquakes, sky disasters, floods. K2 rules floods, okay, in case you didn't know that. And also damage. Now, one of the things, so you can look at me and say, well, you're an astrologer. Why didn't you know you were going to get sick? Actually, I was expecting to get sick. Some people were telling me, uh, to watch out for my kidneys and for various other parts of my body. And it was essentially K2 was passing right over my ascendant and right over my first house lord. So essentially, excuse me. So essentially, pretty much within days of K2 passing over my first house lord, I got sick. So that particular combination in a chart, K2 is an interesting planet because you know something's going to go badly, but you're not quite sure what it is because K2 has that element of surprise. K2 is also really responsible mostly for viruses or violent attacks. So be careful. So this will keep up civil disorder over the next few months. And especially in cities. And one of the reasons I say cities is because cities are centers of trade. Libra is a sign connected with trade, and those particular areas in life are going to be very vulnerable over the next few months. Okay, so this isn't going to go away right away. This is going to expand, I think, during the summertime. I think you're going to see with Mars passing into Cancer towards the end of the summer, you'll start to see some more civilian protests around the world. I think you're going to see them still. And you'll probably see some protests in certain countries that have strong Geminis, like Turkey and even the European Union over the next few months. So I think this is still not really a peaceful map. Rahu is still threatening leaders and administrators, and that's something we should all be aware of. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking about this world map and get back to it in a few minutes. And I'm going to look at another world map and another astrology chart for certain things. So let's go over to your rising sign, how it's going to affect your rising sign, or your sun sign, or your moon sign. By the way, if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe, leave a comment, like, and that way we can grow the channel. I can expand into other channels that I have planned, including I know one person who spoke with me was very eager to get into remedial measures, and I do plan to do that very soon, even some basic astrological knowledge, which I like to impart to people every day. And hopefully, if you're more interested in that, if you'd like to study, you'll contact me for lessons. If you contact me, I can set up a class. I can give you a bit of a break, price-wise, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we'll go to more structured classes. Okay, and that's a good thing. So I think it's about time I set up a school. It's about time that I get active and do that because I just see a lot of uh, incomplete aphorisms bandied about as truths, when really the chart is a whole document. It's not isolated parts. So you have to look at the whole chart. There's really no escaping that. So let's quickly, Saturn's aspecting the moon in the chart, so it's making people a little bit nervous about the economy. It'll again, inflation is still here for another couple of years at least, I think. The Venus-Jupiter combination is actually good. It's a little bit of gives us a bit of hope, which is a great thing. And hopefully, maybe we can negotiate a peace settlement with Ukraine during this period. It's really tough to say because there's been a lot of interference from a lot of different parties in negotiating peace settlements. And Mars is in the 12th as Lord of the 11th, so financial gains tend to get eaten up by inflation. K2 is in the 5th house, so problems with children, but also problems with luck. Mercury's in the 8th house, so again, a lot of media is coming up from underground. It's not being covered by major outlets, but actually, there's more indication that the internet is taking over media. Is a lot of internet shows are actually doing better than regular media shows are, and standard news channels are. And that's not just me. That's essentially um, based on statistics that I've seen. And finally, Jupiter and Venus are in the 10th house, so that's good for action. Now, for Aries, I'm going to take the time, make sure I don't run over like I did last time. For Aries, Aries has the Lord of the 4th is in the 1st house, and the Lord of the 1st is in the 2nd house. So this sign is worried about money. It's concerned about money. It's more concerned about family, how it will influence family, how it will affect family lives. Mars is in the 2nd house, will make the sign a little bit glossy and a little bit more materialistic than normal. But it's also been experiencing a lot of expenditures lately, so that makes sense. For K2 in the 7th, relationship partners seem to be a little bit icy or a little bit cold or a little bit distant. Mercury's in the 10th house in this sign, so that's actually good for communications for the sign. Career-wise, probably not. It's probably a good time for this planet, but a lot of the gains are going to be slow and a lot of expenses again show up in the chart. For Taurus, Taurus has Taurus's Lord Venus is in the 11th house, so that's actually good. It gives this chart good opportunities for financial gains from unexpected sources from the 8th house. Mars is in the 1st house, so we'll be fighting with relationship partners. Mercury's Lord of the 3rd is placed in the 9th house, which gives it short trips, short journeys, and maybe more engagement with siblings. K2's in the 6th house. Again, susceptible to illnesses, so be careful, Taurus. Rising sun or moon. For the Sun and Saturn are in the 10th house. The Sun is going to be working very hard over the next few months, but it will still be spending money on appearance, on skills, on developing or increasing skills. So I think for this chart, it looks better. I'm not really crazy about a chart that has a lot of planets clustered in a few signs. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 signs, which is not really a great combination for success. It'll give success with difficulty, but it'll still give success. So these are called Navasi yogas. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on them. They're mentioned extensively in Gargahora, but basically they're kind of a quick evaluation of the overall auspiciousness or inauspiciousness of a chart. But I find it to be a little bit of a inexact methodology. They're good. This is what they would call a bull chart or a quarter chart in Western astrology. So all the planets cluster around Pisces pretty much. Excuse me. So Gemini has Mercury in the eighth house. So there's a feeling this sign has of being a little bit worried or a little bit anxious or a little bit hidden down, a little bit afraid. Cautiously afraid, I would say. Not, they're doing a lot of research, they're doing a lot of investigation. K2's in the fifth, some difficulty with children, some anxiety about children. Sun and Saturn are in the eighth house, some anxiety about teachers or fathers in this chart, just because of that combination. Although the Sun's going to be away from that within about 3 weeks, and will be in Pisces, so that will actually increase this sign's particular public profile. But there's a lot of worry about luck and a lot of worry about security and stability. The placement of the moon in the 11th house is good. It'll give it some fame and recognition. And Mars in the 12th house, again, there's a little bit of tension in relationship life. Maybe relationship partners away or unavailable to contact, but relationship partners basically safe. For Cancer, Cancer has the moon in the 10th house, so there's a little bit of anxiety about career in this chart as well. I'm checking the time again so I don't run over. And for this sign, the sun is with Saturn, so it'll restrict or make money acquisition a little bit tough. Sun and Saturn are in the eighth house. Not a bad combination, but money will be a little bit tough to come by, especially for relationship partners. For K2 in the fourth house is some fear about family members. Rahu and Moon are in the 10th house. That's again good for career luck. We've spoken about that before. And finally, over here, Mercury's in the 7th house, so there'll be good communications with people who are important in your life. Venus and Jupiter in the 9th house, so essentially this gives access to new knowledge. That's one of the things that Venus and Jupiter conjunctions are great for. They give access to good knowledge and access to good doctors. So that's what one of the things it's excellent for. Rahu and Moon are in the 11th house. I'm sorry, are in the 9th house. My apologies. Are in the 10th house. So we already spoken about that before. Mars is in the 11th house, so there should be some good financial gains for the sign. For Leo, Leo has Sun and Saturn, excuse me. That's not contagious. You can't catch that. Sun and Saturn are in the 7th house, and that's a good conjunction for determination, solidity, a little bit of extra pressure on relationship partners, but basically it's a good combination. K2's in the 3rd, a lot of courage for the sign. Mercury's in the 6th, so again, watch out for health issues. This has kind of been Leo's theme over the past few months. So just watch out for adversaries, watch out for health issues. And partnerships will move slowly but steadily this month. Venus and Jupiter are in the 8th house, so there should actually be some financial gains for the sign. And Rahu and Moon are in the 9th house, so there'll be some frustration with partners and some frustration with with getting tasks done. Good for real estate though, and it's good for forcing your way through. Mars is what's called the best planet for this rising sign, so or this sun sign. So you'll actually have luck this month. For Virgo, with Venus and Jupiter in the seventh house, that gives great opportunities for relationships, for business partnerships. It increases the attention that you pay business partnerships. And I think one of the good things about this combination, even though Sun and Saturn and Mars kind of have this Venus Mercury combination in between malefics, make relationship partners a little bit nicer and calmer and happier. You will have to watch out for health issues though with the Sun Saturn conjunction. Mercury is in the fifth house, so that's actually good for communications, good for rewards for past life credit. Mars is with Rahu and Moon are in the eighth house, so again, this is obsession with learning more about things you don't know about, just being very critical about what you don't know about things, like almost an obsession with finding out new things. Mars is in the ninth house, so good for luck, although Mars is not a good planet for this rising sign. And overall, not a bad combination. K2's in the second, so it's a little bit tough for money, but not horrible. Career life, though, does look good. For a Libra, Libra has Moon and Rahu in the seventh house. The Lord of the first house is in the sixth house. So there's some anxiety for this sign right now, especially regarding health matters. And there will be some kind of self-examination going on for the sign. Sun and Saturn are in the fifth house. That's kind of slows the sign down a little bit. It doesn't give it a lot of energy. Mercury's in the fourth house, and basically that will give it again more desire for learning and for making family life happy. Mars is in the eighth house, so there is a potential for some relationships disputes, some harm to relationship partners. But overall, this isn't a bad chart for Libra rising. It just looks like everything's away from itself. It's away from it, and this sign doesn't have a lot of strength right now. For Scorpio, Scorpio has Mars in the seventh house, so again, spats for relationship partners are probable. That'll go away within about 2 weeks. So we'll see some changes in that sign in about 2 weeks. And it'll take away that Mars presence, which has been really annoying that sign for a while. For Mercury's in the third house, very good for communication skills. Sun and Saturn are in the fourth house, with Venus in the fifth and Jupiter in the fifth house. So basically good for children. Children are optimistic, happy. Rahu and Moon, there is some worry about the future, about future luck. Mars is in the seventh, we already discussed that, and K2 is in the 12th, so there can be some financial expenses connected with this. Sagittarius is in the first house. Mercury's and Jupiter and Venus are in the fourth house. So this can make the sign a little bit impulsive, a little bit impetuous. So they'll have to watch out for making quick decisions on relationships. Everything will look good for the next 3 weeks, and you'll get a lot of attention. But again, this is not really a permanency kind of a situation for relationships. Mercury's in Sun and Saturn. Mercury's in the second, better for money, fast transactions. Sun and Saturn are in third house, so that's actually good for courage. Mars is in Rahu and Moon are in the fifth house, so there's some anxiety about romance, and and you should be able to form some good business partnerships with this combination. Mars in the sixth is not a bad combination, although this sign will feel like it has a lot of work to do. And again, don't trust friends. For Capricorn, Capricorn has Mercury in it, which is a good placement for Mercury. It gives rulership of the sixth and the ninth house in the chart, which is very good for financial luck and financial gains. Venus, the best planet for Capricorn and Aquarius rising, it's in its exalted sign, so there should be good potential for wealth for this sign this month. However, Sun and Saturn will tend to restrict that until around 3 weeks from now. Moon and Mars are in the fourth house, so there's some anxiety about home security. Mars is in the fifth house, so it will give some arguments with kids. K2's in the 10th, so again, not a lot of career recognition, but again, there will be a lot of career progress. Sun and Saturn are in the in the first house for Aquarius rising. I have to stop and think for a second. Venus and Jupiter in the second house, good for financial gains, short-term financial gains. Rahu and Moon are in the third house, good for developing new strategies, although there's some fear that they might not work out. Mars is in the fourth, so that will again give some problems in relationship life. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. And some arguments. K2's in the eighth house. That'll give a lot of hidden problems or hidden issues. I'm sorry, K2's in the ninth house. That will give a lot of unexpected financial gains or financial possibilities, but I wouldn't I wouldn't undertake any really risky investments at this particular point in time, no matter how good Jupiter and Venus make you feel. Okay. K2 in this sign still makes markets really erratic. And I would only invest in the most stable industries or pharmaceuticals or weapons. This is not or new tech. I wouldn't invest in currencies right now. I just don't think it's a good idea. Unless your chart is very different from this chart, stay the heck away from Bitcoin for the next 8 or 9 months. I really don't think it's a good investment. For at least during that time period. And let's see for this chart, Mercury's in the 12th, so there'll be a lot of emphasis on travel, a lot of interest in foreign countries. And I think you'll actually see some expansion of wealth from this chart. And so that looks good. For Pisces, Venus and Jupiter in the first house, so this sign is probably feeling pretty good about itself. Rahu Moon, some anxiety about money, but that's true of all of us nowadays. Mars is in the third house, so there'll be a lot of courage, a lot of game, but again, just make sure it's not reckless, because that Mars is connected with that exalted Venus. And K2 is in the eighth house in this chart. So that'll give some unexpected health issues. But again, nothing really horrifying, and relationship partners will be a little bit critical. So that's it for this chart. Also, Sun, Saturn, and the 12th, watch out for expenditures, especially from overseas. Now, let's go over to another chart. We're going to look at another chart. If I can pull it up. Let's see. Stop the share. And I've been looking more and more at this chart for a little while. And this is called the Kota Chakra chart. Now, the Kota Chakra chart, the closer you get to the center of the chart, the more reinforced the chart is. And you pay attention to planets which are slow moving charts, you pay more attention to that. This is also a mix of what's called a nakshatra chart and a um, and uh, a and a planetary chart. So the thing I'm pointing to right now is the Moon Rahu up here. This is the northeast corner of the chart. So that indicates some issues coming from the northeast, um, but they're temporary issues because the moon is essentially a very slow-moving planet. K2, some problems coming from the south, okay, in terms of chart. Then we're going to go back to the chart I normally use to analyze the world. And the planets which are the most powerful right now are the Sun, Venus, and Mars. Mars is the foundation of the chart. And basically, it's the stamba or the positional strength of the chart. So there's a lot of antagonism around the world. We know that. That's basically what the situation is saying. There's a lot of concern about destruction. Okay, we've had a lot of destructive activities happen. We've had a lot of earthquake activity, a lot of gun violence, a lot of those kinds of things happening in the United States and around the world. Especially in countries like Turkey, which are, just so Turkey's had those series of earthquakes in common with Syria. It's really pretty far away from the center of population, which is Istanbul. And we're going to look at the world map to see where the dangers are over the next week or so in a second. Venus and Sun are also fast moving planets, so their effects will not be felt all that much. Jupiter and Saturn are basically more important planets to look at. So Jupiter's over here in the north. So Jupiter being in the north, along with Venus, line up with Venus temporarily and line up with K2, it will not produce as auspicious results as we would normally expect to see. Saturn's in the west. So basically, Saturn in the west can indicate some destructive energies in the west or some whittling away of positions in the west. So this is not entirely a negative chart, but this chart is used for looking at disasters, and the most disastrous component of the chart are K2 and Mars because they give sudden catastrophes or sudden issues. I'm going to make sure this chart shared. I'm so sorry, I should have done this before. And let's look at it again. And so Mars is pretty strong in the chart. It's in Mrigashira Nakshatra, which is a deer nakshatra. It's a Mars nakshatra, Mars oriented nakshatra. So that's why there's been so much destruction lately. But basically, this chart is showing that K2 is probably going to be in that position for a while to come. Okay, so just be aware of that. Be aware there'll be a lot of screw ups. There's a potential for triggering bigger wars, but I don't think that'll happen actually. The other thing is, so let's get back to the other chart we have. And that's that software, for those of you who don't know, is from Sri Jagannath Horolite. I have that chart on this computer, but it's really not as easy to read, if I'm honest with you. So I just thought that was a better contrast. Let's see now. But Sri Jagannath Light has certain features that other astrology packages don't have, and I'll be using that from time to time. Again, it's a good. Narashima Rao did a great job on it. Andrew Foss did a great job on Sri Jodi Star, but there are some interesting things that you can consider in Narashima Rao's software that you can in others. And they all have advantages and disadvantages. Now, let's go to the time and space log. I don't have a lot of time on this, unfortunately. So my face is going to be really close to the screen because my eyesight's a little bit wonky. And we have Mercury and Saturn lines close to Hawaii, um, close to Alaska. I need to get up a little bit. Sorry about that. Close to Alaska. Um, and we have some Jupiter. So this could indicate some violent activity, some even some earthquake activity over Alaska. Um, maybe some volcanic activity still being undergone in Hawaii. Jupiter and Venus can indicate some flooding up here in off the coast of Canada or around the coast of Canada. There's some potential for flooding and potential for bad weather in Mexico, all the way down to Chile and to Tierra del Fuego, and all the way through Texas, Arizona, Wyoming, Montana, Utah. So those areas of the country should watch out for sudden storms and even political problems, especially to Western Texas, some panics. Saturn and Mercury are in conjunction around Florida, Georgia, up to Ohio. And again, we know we have the train disasters up there. And also, there's a Mars line. So I'm expecting some kind of accidents between Pennsylvania and West Virginia and Maryland. I hope that's not true, but and we'll hear about them very quickly. And maybe even some severe governmental conflict over the next week or so. Now, Senator Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Cuba look like they're in for some tough times too, as does Colombia, Venezuela, down through Peru, Ecuador, and Chile. Again, we have this Mars line running straight through Brazil, and we have that Venus-Jupiter line. Venus lines, Venus, again, don't underestimate the potential for flooding just because Venus and Jupiter are good planets. They're both watery planets, okay? And they're not really, they're well placed by sign, but they're not well placed by position. And that's maybe the best way I can put it. Rahu is over Western Africa, so there could be some political scandals in Western Africa and even in Iceland and even through Great Britain again. Great Britain and Ireland and France and Northern Africa. Oh, more political scandals. Oh man. And let's see now. So that region of the world doesn't look as stable as it can be, but there's a lot of unhappiness in the population up there. There's let me just see now. A Mercury line, a Rahu, Mercury line running through Central Africa, down through South Africa, and there's a Mars line over here in Turkey. Now that's dangerously close to Istanbul, but I'm thinking the activity will take place more around here than in Istanbul. Eastern Europe is kind of set up for some earthquakes as well, but I'm hoping I'm wrong about that. And I'm hoping it's just minor damage in southern Turkey, and I really hope they don't get hit with any more. But and even some potential in Egypt and Sudan. If we go over to Iran, Iran to me, all the way down through Saudi Arabia, looks to me more like governmental orthodoxy reasserting itself. That we've heard about this already, but Jupiter and Venus tend to be established order planets. So whenever Jupiter's strong or Venus is in Jupiter's sign, it'll try to reestablish the existing order. Finally, Rahu, I'm going to have to rush to this. Rahu is, so we have Rahu going over Eastern India, China, and interacting, so that there'll be government crackdowns throughout Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and also definitely in China. And China will be getting more draconian in how it administers things. There's a Mars line coming awfully close to Japan. I hope they're not going to hit any kind of like a major catastrophe, and also down by Australia. Australia's been going through some problems lately, and so is Indonesia and the Philippines. So, although they don't show very much on the news, and there's some potential flooding in New Zealand. That's it for me. Thank you very, very much for watching. I love you all. I really appreciate your viewing, and please subscribe, like, uh, and give me your comments. Bye bye, everyone. Gary Gomes signing off.